consistently showing signs of rotation. That's what this is an indication of. And if we get a quick storm track here, you'll be able to see where it's headed. And what I'm talking about as we zoom you out a little bit to give you a little more perspective. This storm is moving pretty much due east at 58 miles per hour. And the BTI, the tornado index, has been on the lower end, but it's been pretty consistent between about 3.6 to 4. So that indication of rotation within the storm. And severe hail has been a concern, but more so just the potential for rotation within the cell and the possibility of some damaging winds. So again, if you're in and around the Houstonville area, Geneva, the storm moving pretty much due east towards Lincoln County, you want to watch out. I'll pop that down off the screen and we'll change things up and get a look at how things are looking here to talk about the rotation within the storm. Now, as far as shear is concerned, the shear rate, right there, you can see that kind of brighter green. That is an indication of some weak to, at times, we've seen indications of some stronger shear within these cells. That is just the rotation of the wind within the storm, an indication that you could have some stronger wind gusts getting down to the surface. But if we look at the storm relative velocity and zoom in, that is where you start to see these indications of rotation. You got the red moving away from the radar site and the green moving towards, giving that overall broad rotation there. So when you start to see those colors backing up against each other, that is an indication of where you could see possible tornadic development. Now, we had a storm earlier that was just a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible, but this rotation that you can easily see here on storm relative velocity has obviously tightened up. So we're seeing the better potential for some rotation within that cell. So if you're just joining us, and probably going to be on the air with you for a while here while these warnings continue. We have a newly issued tornado warning, and it's in our southern counties. We've got a line of storms that extends all the way up north. If we pop the max track on, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Now, these have been non-severe, but we did just have a severe thunderstorm warning issued north and east. That's way up to the north, so that's for parts of Montgomery County and running out through Menifee County and Frenchburg, damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour and 1-inch hail. And then these storms do continue down through Richmond. Northern parts of Richmond, if you guys are driving down I-75 north or south, you're going to run into torrential rainfall and just some frequent lightning there. But again, the main player is this tornado warning that we're monitoring here down towards Chilton, some of those smaller towns within the warned area of Marion County. Now, this storm was showing signs of some rotation when it was on the Taylor and Marion County line, and the National Weather Service went ahead and issued a tornado warning for it. So that goes through 7:15 this morning. The potential's there for winds, damaging winds strong enough to pull shingles off your roof, knock small trees down. We've had some reports of power lines down out there as well. And again, that tornado index hovering pretty much right around 4 there, and the hail size about 3/4 of an inch. We had some hail up to 1.8 inches in diameter yesterday from a storm that blew up. Well, it was actually late last evening into early this morning. So folks around Mount Salem, Geneva, again, Moreland, Houstonville, this storm is moving to the east at about 47 miles per hour. So it'll get to you fairly quickly, and you want to take shelter and, again, watch out for any potential damage from this. And if you've been with us long enough, you know the rules about, or recommendations, I should say, about storms. Get into an interior room within your house and watch out for the potential for flying debris. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. That shear rate right now picking up a little bit, still showing on the weak side, but that is the problem with some of these storms. They've been showing some pretty persistent areas of rotation, and right there it is. So this is not, extremely tight, indicative of a violent tornado, but still that broad rotation could be an indication of a tornado that can possibly reach the ground. This is radar indicated from the National Weather Service. And it continues to track off to the east. So this runs through 7:15 this morning. And we've had some additional storms back to the west. If we can zoom you out, you can see this is actually within a broader severe thunderstorm warning that runs all the way back to the west from this storm that's back towards I-65. There are additional tornado warnings back towards Munfordville, and Horse Cave. So we're going to probably see this as we continue through the morning, because we've got a tornado watch in effect across southeastern counties. We had this warm front bubble in overnight, and it brought in quite a bit in the way of some heavy rain, and also the potential for more instability to work with, which is prompting some of these storms that we've got ongoing. So Houstonville, the storm's creeping up on you. It is, if we zoom in, try to pick up some of these smaller communities, Ellisburg, some rural areas that this storm is moving through at the moment. But if we broaden the view out a little bit, right around here is where you really want to pay attention as that storm progresses off onto the eastern side of this warning polygon through 7:15. So you get about 15 more minutes of this warning, but it could very well likely be extended. So we'll have to wait for the next update, the next velocity update, to give you an idea of where it's headed. Severe storms, especially when you're talking about tornadic storms, ones that you want to take seriously. And we talk about the sea duct method all the time. That is where you want to get into the interior of the house, put as many walls between you as the outside as you can, close interior doors, get downstairs if you have a basement. That is ideal. A lot of folks live on a crawl space, so get into an interior bathroom, get under something, get to the center of the house, and keep away from windows to protect yourself from that potential for those storms, tornadic or straight line wind. So if we go back home again and close some of this out, you'll be able to see where I'm talking about with the storm now moving closer to just south of Houstonville there, in that area of rotation still showing south of Ellisburg on the current warning. So this has been a busy morning for us. Well, at least it's turning into a busy morning for us. If you were watching Facebook Lives last night on our LEX-18 page, Chief Meteorologist Bill Meck was up tracking some of those cells, and they weren't tornadic, but they were definitely putting down some larger hail, and that's also a concern here. If we look at the potential hail, that is not as much of a threat from these storms, but still that shear swath, that shows the history of the shear within the storm, and you can see where it kind of cycles between stronger and weaker, intensifying, spinning up, and then backing off, and then spinning back up again. So the current shear rate with this storm is definitely on the weaker side. It's not a very obvious whack you upside the head kind of signature here, but still enough that you want to watch out. So updates on it, still holding at that 4.1 for the BTI, and it's moving east around 47 miles per hour. In addition to that, we also have warnings to the north. So watch out for any of these cells, whether they're tornadic or not. Out towards Crab Orchard, a lot of these storms are moving due east, so folks around Broadhead, Mount Vernon, some of our southern counties, even around Berea, you want to watch out. We've got a pretty hefty cell right around Richmond, north of Richmond. This one could be putting out some small hail and also just some torrential rainfall. And then again, those ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings that we have that are up towards Frenchburg and include Menifee County. So a tornado watch was issued. It's for our southeastern counties. So as these storms continue to give us the possibility of tornadic development, we'll likely continue to see these warnings issued. If I can kind of broaden it out and show you the broad view and potentially get the map in motion, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about here. Storms moving off to the east at about 40 miles per hour. And again, the possibility there for some, at times, tornadic development. I don't think I've got a time lapse that I've got set up that I can show you, but you notice how they're starting to chop off the back end of that polygon. Oh, my computer just went haywire on me. It looks like I lost some data, or may have jumped down into Tennessee. That's what I did, yeah. Let's move you back up north again and get you closer to that warning. So they're paring down the back end of the storm, but we're still seeing that potential for some rotation within it. So if you are down around Houstonville, and now between there and Mount Sterling, it's going to kind of split the difference between you guys. You definitely want to watch out for that possibility of straight line wind damage and possibly a tornado that could be impacting you. Look at the overall shear here and get an idea what we're potentially dealing with. And that shows the wind speed away and from. So stronger on one side than the other, but we've still been showing consistently wind shear values in the 20 to 30, 40 mile per hour range. So that is definitely at least some mid-level rotation, if not rotation, that's actually getting down to the ground. So the tornado warnings have been prompted and continue this morning. Here you can see the broader view with this cell. So tornado warning issued for Menifee County again through 7:15. And then again back to the south and the west. We're also going to be keeping an eye on these storms down around Campbellsville. You've got this broader severe thunderstorm warning, and then you've got some additional severe thunderstorm warnings down around Greensburg and down towards Bunnell Crossing, way outside the viewing area. So it looks like some of these could very well be weakening as far as the rotation goes, although we're showing some broad rotation with that storm outside the viewing area there. The one that we've got here, and as has been happening, some of these storms will spin up and show these signs of rotation and then start to weaken. They can only maintain it for so long and then diminish. So we can very well start to be seeing that happening as far as this cell is concerned, with that weaker end shear, but still strong enough that it warrants a warning. So as we zoom in, get a little closer look at the arrival time here. Still moving east. Yeah, and notice how that tornado index has dropped as that rotation has loosened up a little bit. So wouldn't be surprised to see if it continues on that trend. This warning discontinued, expired potentially a little early, but we've got that possibility of folks in and around McKinney by 7:14 this morning. It's still moving east at 47 miles per hour. Blue Lick by 7:18, out around Kings Mountain by 7:20, and it's on that due east track again. So you're talking about a number of these smaller communities as you head south of Fayette County. Right there's Lancaster and Garrett County as you drop south. So anywhere within these affected communities is where you want to watch out, and just hunker down. Take the necessary precautions to avoid this storm as it continues that eastward track. See if we can get some updates on anything, if we've got new. So the rotation stronger toward the radar site, but showing a little bit of clutter on the back end there. So looks like it is certainly weakened somewhat, but we do still have an active tornado warning for those areas. So keep an eye on the ongoing storms. I'm going to take a break and get it set up so I can show you the tornado watch that's in effect. I'm likely going to have to cut back in for additional warnings throughout the morning. I won't be surprised to see this one drop, but we'll probably see other ones issued again. Just for a brief moment, going to get a drink of water, set the weather computer up, and potentially be back with you.
Icing from Williamsport down to Washington, D.C., Harrisonburg, all making its way to the east. I feel you, Bubby.
I mean, the key word.
Good morning. Quick update for you. We've got another tornado warning. This one way out into eastern Kentucky, though. We're talking about Johnson County. Here's West Liberty, Morgan County, Salyersville. But we do have a tornado warning in effect for Johnson County, and that goes until 8:15 this morning. This particular cell is moving east around 45 miles per hour, so very shortly it'll be pretty much outside the viewing area, almost pretty much already is. But for folks in Johnson County, you want to watch out. If we look at the velocity here, you can see that green and red coupling, an indication of that rotation within the storm, and as well the shear rate has upticked a little bit. So north of Paintsville there, as we zoom in a little bit, show you some of the smaller communities and pop it back on the Jackson radar, it's pretty much right over central Johnson County. So tornado warning there if you're in central or eastern Johnson County. Storms moving east around 45 miles per hour, eventually heading off into West Virginia. Stay weather aware and take shelter.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
America customized cash rewards.
All right, good morning. Just told you about that tornado warning in Johnson County, out into eastern Kentucky. This one's a little closer to central Kentucky, southeastern Kentucky. We have a new tornado warning that was just issued by the National Weather Service out of Jackson. And right here you can see McKee, Jackson County here. It runs out towards Vine. Pop the warning up for you to be able to see. It also includes Clay County, at least northern parts of Clay County there. And it runs through 8:30 this morning. So a newly issued tornado warning. As far as the presentation goes, if we look at the shear rate, you can see how that has been ticking up, and you see not only the weak shear, but starting to see these pops of stronger shear. That's an indication of the potential for stronger rotation within the storm. And right there, where you see those greens and reds matching up, that is the area of the most concern where you could see a tornado. So some of the smaller communities in and around it, Jonetta, Cooksburg, as we push pretty much due east. This storm, let's get a storm track on it for you and give you an idea how fast it's going and where it's heading. If I can pop it up, there we go. So, yeah, very similar to many of the storms that we've seen already this morning. This one is moving east at 49 miles per hour. Now, the tornado index is on the lower end there. We've been seeing these cells that have been showing areas of broader rotation, but every once in a while they tighten up and prompt a warning. And I think that's what we've got going on here. So some of the smaller communities will be impacted. You can see the laundry list there from 805, 807 around McKee. That's, of course, in Jackson County. And then as we head farther east, Macedonia around 10 after, Soaptown 812 way out in east. Mildred at the far end of this around 813 this morning. This is part of a larger group of storms. There's the National Weather Service radar out of Jackson again that have been working their way across our southeastern counties. So if we zoom out, there is that ongoing tornado warning that I just cut in a little bit ago out in Johnson County. That one goes through until 8:15 this morning. We've got some occasional showers and storms that are still popping around Stanton and Campton, but the two hot spots, if you will, at the moment are out in Johnson County. But of course, right there is the West Virginia border with Louisa, and then eventually popping off out there, and they're moving east. So that one's moving away from us. This one is more concerning just because it's got much more territory to cover. If you look in that easterly track, eventually it'll be working its way across southern Breathitt County and then eventually north of Hazard and off towards Hindman. So, you know, just take the precautions that you need to take and watch out for the potential for a tornadic storm here. Hail is also a possibility. The hail is actually registering a little bit on the lower end here as well, but with that eastward track around 49 miles per hour, it's going to make quick work of cutting its way east across Rockcastle County, and then eventually coming out towards Island City there. You can see you're pretty much south of that track, getting into parts of Owsley County. But a newly issued tornado warning, and what have been now multiple, at least initially, it was only a couple, and they were back to the south and the west. If we continue to track you back towards Science Hill, you see how these storms kind of peter out. They've lost some of their oomph, but they're definitely maintaining it. And what happened was overnight we had a warm front bubble north. So we've got plenty of moisture to work with, higher dew points at the surface, warmer air temperatures well into the 60s. And with that wind shear, it's resulting in these storms that are not only getting severe thunderstorm warnings, but are also prompting these occasional tornado warnings. So again, if you're in and around McKee, especially some of the areas that are populated a little more, right there, Sand Gap, parts of central Jackson County, you want to watch out as that storm is tracking off to the due east. And storm relative velocity, again, if we sample that, be able to see what we're dealing with here. You can see the green, an indication of winds that are going toward the Jackson XRAD, and then the red, an indication of winds that are going away from it. So you get that general sense of rotation there. So a newly issued tornado warning. Our policy is to stay on the air as long as these are active. And of course, this one runs until 8:30 this morning. And this may not be the only one. I mean, we've had multiple popping already. We still have that one ongoing across Jessamine County there. I shouldn't say Jessamine County, I should say Johnson County there. And if we zoom you all the way out, you can see the extent of this line of storms that stretches now from Louisa, dropping all the way down through just to the south of Berea and Mount Vernon. Another thing that you want to be very cautious about if you're driving this morning is the potential for damaging wind gusts and just absolutely torrential rainfall along I-75. Now, that's as soon as you drop south out of Berea. If you're heading down into London Corbin area, you're going to run right into a wall of water there. But the biggest concern here is the potential for damaging wind gusts from this storm, which is now pretty much moving its way right over McKee. If we zoom in here even closer, you can see the current radar imagery showing that cell just south of McKee, the storm track. So, yeah. 8:01, it's pretty much right on top of you, and it's tracking east. So Pigeon Roost by 8:03, and by 8:10, it's all the way out east around Hurd with that 49 mile per hour eastward track. And notice something else, the tornado index has ticked up a little bit, indications that this storm could be cranking up, tightening up a little bit, and has the potential to cause some damage. So the storm relative velocity again shows that couplet just to the south there, that rotation south of the cell, and of course the radar imagery showing where some of the heavier rain is on the back end of it. If I can get it to pop up for you here, you can see it. We've had some indications of hail at times. Hail was a bigger issue, at least large hail, late last night with some of the cells that popped up, but these supercells are more in line with just the potential for damaging wind. You know, whether it's straight line wind damage or whether it's tornadic, 60, 70 mile per hour winds possible with these storms as they race off to the east, and the possibility is there for a little bit of hail. I mean, if you look at the hail swath, not terribly impressive. You're seeing some signs of it back to the west as it works its way east, but the sheer swath really is a better teller of what's going on with this cell. As it is tracked east and started to tighten up and picked up in intensity, you can watch that shear go from weak to strong, which it is still holding at just to the south of McKee there, and heading off towards some of these smaller communities like Greyhawk, Mummy, Brownsville. If you folks are in anywhere close to these areas, you want to watch out. Haven't had many reports of damage from these storms. Western Kentucky, especially out towards I-65, some of the storms moved through there. We did have reports of some power lines down and the potential for some tree damage certainly there. But also this can damage structures. It can rip up your landscaping, tear shingles off your roof, things of that nature. If you've got anything in your yard as far as lawn furniture, trampolines, those are favorites for getting blown away in strong winds. You want to secure that stuff before the storm gets to you. So at the moment, lost the storm track, but still have the tornado warning that is set to go through 8:30 this morning. And you know the deal as far as storms are concerned. We talk about the sea duck method, and it is a way of keeping yourself safe in the event of a tornado. You close interior doors, you get downstairs, you get under something, preferably a bed, you get to the center of the house, and you keep away from windows, because windows can blow in and that flying debris can injure you. So anytime that you're in a potential tornado there, those are some of the tips that you definitely want to follow for the best way to keep you safe. And if you live on a slab, if you live in a mobile home, you want to get, again, into the most interior room you can. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside as you can, preferably if you have a basement, get in there. If there's a stronger structure and you have time to get to it, do that as well, because the potential for damaging wind is definitely out there this morning. And we're getting signs of rotation within this storm as well. So newly issued tornado warning, if you're just joining us, it is for Jackson County, and that goes through 8:30 this morning, and then it pops over, that extends all the way out towards Owsley County and parts of northern Clay County. So we got to go way down south to find Manchester and Clay County to give you some perspective. That's where we're at with this particular cell. Moving off to the east. If we expand the view again and get a look at what's going on, this seems to be the sole player at the moment. That tornado warning that was out for Johnson County, that storm has now moved east out of Johnson County and is moving off towards West Virginia. But anywhere from West Liberty, running down north of Salyersville, and then out through Campton, this cell, especially in and around Campton, is putting down some excuse me, some torrential rainfall and frequent lightning. But there, looks like we're getting some updated data with this tornado warned storm. Now moving off to the east of McKee, with that tornado warning expiring at 8:30 this morning. There's the track. So yeah, the tornado index has popped up even higher, 6.4. Still looking at hail around 50% chance of half-inch hail there. So not severe hail, an inch in diameter or more, but still something that could cause some damage. If you are in and around Atkinson, let's just zoom in and show you some of these smaller communities. Since the storm is tracking due east, this is the time to take cover. Alert any friends or family that may be on the line of the storm as well, as we track you pretty much right along that storm track. Brownsville, this does include Island City, and then farther east around Conkling and out towards Ricetown and some of these much smaller communities. Doesn't matter the size of the place you live in. You got a tornado coming through or straight line wind damage, you got it coming through and it could impact you. So you want to use extra caution there as well. And back to the west, things have calmed down considerably as well. We've still got showers and storms extending from Eubank up through Science Hill. Of course, we just had a tornado watch issued a couple of hours ago. That's in effect through 11 o'clock this morning. Meteorologist Bane Frone has come in to work a little backup. She's a trooper because this is her day off. I told her not even to bother, but she can't resist. So, man, if you hear of any damage or anything, please let me know what's going on there. And if you could, pop up that tornado watch. We can switch between boxes and just show folks where the tornado watch is and how long it runs. But again, we do have that tornado warning in effect, trying to get you the most updated data on it for folks who could be impacted. Atkinson, Privet, Blooming Grove, those are the areas that you really want to watch out for the potential of tornadic storm. Here's the Max Track Live. As we pop it into effect here, you'll be able to see that sweep rolling by. Some of the heavier rain within this cell as well, and the frequent lightning that we've been dealing with here. There have been just some big booms overnight, probably waking a lot of folks up. But again, this storm is tracking pretty much due east, close to 50 miles per hour. And if you're within its path, you definitely want to get out of the way, hunker down, take cover, and ride this storm out. So updated data from it. Still seeing it tracking off to the east. Now it's moving a little farther to the south of Privet there. And again, the tornado index has cranked up a little bit, an indication of some tightening up of this storm. And as we zoom in, you can see that velocity data showing that general rotation there. And of course, the shear rate has been picking up. Where you see this darker red, that is an indication of stronger shear, where that storm is, just starting to crank up and could potentially throw some damaging wind down toward the surface, or maybe even see a brief tornado touchdown. A lot of the storms that we've seen this morning have been tornado warnings that are red or indicated, meaning we can see the rotation within these storms. They could be producing a tornado, but we don't have ground proof that they actually are. But the odds they're there that it's a possibility again. So broader view right there. There's Kingston, Berea, southern parts of Richmond County there, Madison County, I should say, south of Richmond. You can see the storm as it's moving off to the due east. Bane, you got an update on the watch at the moment?
Yeah, so this is what we're dealing with right now. So this all these areas that are highlighted in red, that is going to be under that tornado watch. Now, this is in place until 11 a.m. We still have quite a few hours to go where we could see some strong storms are going to be developing that tornadic activity, which is going to be possible, like what Tom has been talking about all morning long. So as we take a look, again, you can see where that tornado is going to be moving on in, and there's a little bit of those stronger storm cells are also pushing in. So even if you're not under a warned storm, you still want to make sure you're being weather aware throughout the rest of your morning, especially on that morning commute. Again, we've been watching particularly this cell here where there is that radar indicated rotation at this point. So let's take a little bit of a closer look. If we can maybe zoom in on this max track here, we may have to adjust a couple of things, but for now you can see how long and how stretched far this squall line is as that front moves on through. But again, we're also seeing that severe thunderstorm warning in place, as well as that tornado warning. So like we were mentioning, sea duck, you want to make sure you're in the center of your home if you are under this warned storm. Make sure you get under something, stay away from windows or keep away from windows. And the most important part is to just make sure you're in a safe place, especially this morning in those warned areas. So I'm going to throw it back to Tom for a quick second. I'm going to try and get this so we can actually zoom in a little bit better on this map, and then we'll jump back to me. But back
technology never works when they want it to. It's a golden rule. You wanted to do something, it's pretty much going to fight you at every turn. So, yeah, Bain's right. The sea duck method, a great way to protect yourself. If we look at the overall track of this storm, here is McKee. So, yeah, it started out west. It has rapidly moved east. And now you can see where the most likely area of rotation is. We pop that velocity back up again. Right there, just to the west of Island City. So, if you're within this area, in that eastern track of this cell, hunker down, take cover, and keep yourself protected, because we're definitely seeing that shear rate that is picked up. You can see that pop of strong shear within that indication of the low-level rotation there. So the warning runs again until 8:30 this morning. We had a few more storms late last night that were showing some signs of rotation, but just ended up putting down some bigger hail. But for right now, every once in a while, these storms get cranked up and maintain this intensity and then drop off again. If we look back through Mount Vernon, towards Billows, Pulaski County, you guys are dealing with torrential rainfall and as well that chance for some damaging wind gusts. And it runs northeast as well, going all the way up towards Campton and Salyersville. But at this point, this is the one and only warning that is in effect, and it's a tornado warning again for the cell that is still rapidly tracking east, now up to 52 miles per hour. So there's the latest data in the storm track, taking you out towards Morris Fork out the end of this run. The BTI 6.5, so that has certainly picked up. It was under 3 when all this started, I believe. And that storm moving between Hurd, Elias, and eventually out towards Island City. Please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing some of these smaller communities. But again, anywhere within these smaller communities, even around Sourwood, don't pay attention so much to that main storm track, but pay more attention to that cone of where you could see impacts. So that could run all the way up through Scoville, Chestnut Gap, and as far south as Trixie and Augur, and then Mistletoe, Lucky Fork, some of those very small communities into our southeastern counties. So tornado watch continues, remains in effect through 8:30 this morning. It's now 8:12. Haven't seen much in the way of reports of damage. Again, if you have damage, feel free to send it here to LEX-18, our news desk, or you can send it directly to one of our meteorologists. Any indications of damage out there from downed trees or power lines, which are very much in the cards here, but you can also see some damage to structures. You can see the potential there. We've got 80 miles of shear, and it's moving east at 52 miles per hour. And again, that tornado index is cranked up a little bit. So potential tornado. Even if it's not a tornado, you can easily have damaging straight line winds. If we broaden the view out a little bit, just to give you a better idea where we're headed here, maybe I can just even X a lot of this stuff out and get rid of some of this to give you a better idea. There you go. Clear it out. There's Beattyville. There's Irvin. Here's Richmond, Madison County. We're talking just down to the south and east now of I-75. There's London and East Bernstadt getting into northern Laurel County. So now moving into eastern parts of Jackson County with Macedonia off to the north. That warning is going to continue as it continues to track east. So some of the areas that are likely going to be impacted from a broader view, Buckhorn, eventually out towards Altro, and some of the smaller communities south of Jackson, because right here is Jackson, Breathitt County, with that storm moving on that due east track, running again probably around 50 miles per hour, 52 miles per hour. You've got some of those smaller communities that will be impacted within that time frame between now and about 8:26. You can see that laundry list running on the screen right there. Bain, what do you got?
Yeah, just looking again, once again, at that tornado watch in place for most of central Kentucky, especially the southeastern part of the state. This is going to be in place until 11 a.m. So we still got a couple of hours where we could see some pretty strong storms starting to pop up. So again, let's take a look at that radar and see what we're dealing with. You can see these storms extending all the way to the southeast, all the way near Somerset is where we're going to be seeing this line of storms. So even if you're not under a warned storm, good idea to stay weather aware. Try and stay off the roads if you can. We're still dealing with some pretty heavy rainfall at the moment, as well as pretty heavy wind gusts and all of that moving on in. So let's take a closer look at that warned storm as well. Again, we're under that tornado warning for some of our certain counties over here. We're seeing this in place for Owsley County, as well as Jackson County and Clay County are all included into this warning. So let's try and get this guy off the screen. We'll just move it over here for now. But let's take a closer look at what we're going to be dealing with over the next couple of minutes. So as of right now, we're looking at some areas that are going to be impacted in the next few minutes here. You can see Blake, 8 minutes, going to be dealing with this storm moving on into that area. Major, about 10 minutes. We're going to be seeing Trixie in the next 10 to 15 minutes is what we're going to be dealing with where this storm moves on through. Again, this is a tornado-warned storm where we do have that radar indication of some of that rotation. So as we move ahead here as well, you can see a couple more of these areas that are also going to be included in this storm in the next couple of minutes. We're seeing that near Chestnut Gap, Turkey, Canoe. We're also going to be seeing that impacting Buckhorn in the next 10, 15 minutes. So if you are in these areas, make sure you take cover. Just get into your space in the middle of your home, in the center of your house. And speaking of, if you are in this warned area, a good idea to remember CDUC. So let's try and get that up there for you guys here. But remember, CDUC, want to get in the center of most part of your home. Try and stay away from areas where there's a window or anything that could be a debris or something that could fall on you. That could be a pretty dangerous situation. So again, want to be C in the center most part of your home. You want to get downstairs. You want to be under something as well. Again, center part of the home, and keep away from windows. Want to make sure you close all those interior doors as well, so you make sure those windows can come in and grab around some stuff and fly around a couple of things throughout your own home. So again, this is what you really want to make sure you're keeping a close eye on. Close interior doors. Make sure you're in the center of your home, under something, as well as being in the keeping away from those windows as well. Now, once again, as we take a look here, we want to make sure that you're being really careful, especially in the areas where there's going to be that storm potential moving on through. That's going to mostly be impacting our southeastern counties at the moment. That's what's going to be continuing to move on through. So I'm going to send it back to Tom real quick so we can look back at that map and actually get a little bit of a closer look at what's going on the radar right now.
Yeah, it looks like Jackson has gone ahead and issued a severe thunderstorm warning, Bane. You can see it extending now south of Boonville, running all the way out towards parts of Breathitt County, the southwestern part, western part of Breathitt County. That goes through 8:45. So potentially in anticipation of this storm weakening somewhat. They just have difficulty maintaining that kind of intensity for a longer period of time. If we look at the shear rate, still showing some pretty good signs of weak to strong shear right there around Island City. So this storm has now moved, moving east at near 50 or slightly over 50 miles per hour from south of McKee out towards Island City, which means eventually you folks that are in the severe thunderstorm warning are going to see it heading in your direction. So some of those smaller areas that Bane was outlining, Ricetown, Lucky Fork, as you get all the way out towards Altro there. But the tornado warning is still in effect through 8:30 this morning. It is pretty much cleared Jackson County. You guys are in the clear here. It's still showing up as a warning, but you can see the main part of the cell has moved east. So now we're pretty much right on top of Island City. If you are within Island City and you're hearing this storm rolling through, I hope you've taken the necessary precautions and taken shelter as we get an update on the track of it. That tornado index still at 6.3, and we're still seeing a pretty good chance for the potential, if not for a tornado, but at least some strong straight line wind damage. We did have reports from some of these cells again earlier this morning, knocking some power lines down back towards I-65, some of the counties that were impacted back there as you got back towards western counties outside the viewing area. But this is going to continue this trek around 50 miles per hour due east. So we're now taking you through Sebastian, I should say, and north of Buckhorn there. And if we continue that eastward trek, you're going to be able to see some of the small areas that eventually this squall line is going to impact. We've still got some real estate to cover here with these storms. Right here's London. There's the southern edge of the viewing area right down toward the Tennessee line. Out here, Hazard and Hyden, and Pikeville way off to the east. So at the moment, we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued, but that's on the other side of the state line, so that's out towards West Virginia. Painesville, Johnson County, where we briefly had that tornado warning in effect. You guys are in the clear as far as severe weather, but you've still got an ongoing heavy rain threat as well, and it looks like they've gone ahead and extended this tornado warning farther east. So you can see how they kind of pare down these polygons as they get past the area that's impacted, and then they go ahead and reissue it. So we now have a tornado warning that is in effect. That goes through 8:45 this morning for Breathitt County. So as this thing maintains its intensity, continues to track east, it's now going to be a threat not only for Owsley County, but folks into western parts of Breathitt County, and right there you can see around Buckhorn as you get down towards Gaze Creek in northern Perry County. That's also going to be a potential hazard for you with this tornado-warned storm that we've been tracking on and off throughout the morning. It's all part of the same line that's been slowly progressing east over the past about 4 hours or so that has caused some damage out to the west. So if you're in Fayette County, if you're in any of our surrounding larger areas, you're pretty much in the clear. They're dropping the tornado watch off into some of those counties as these storms drop into southeastern Kentucky, but around East Bernstadt, northern Laurel County, if you're driving north or south up or down I-75, you guys are going to run into just torrential rainfall and the possibility of some damaging wind there. And again, still seeing signs of this cell. You can see that rotation there. The storm relative velocity showing that indication of the greens and reds bumped up together. When you see those colors together, that's an indication of that rotation within the storm, and that, of course, shear rate tells the tale as well. So that looks like that may have even grown, expanded a little bit in and around Island City. So if you're in some of these smaller communities, Conkling, Taft, Trixie, watch out. Bain, you getting any damage reports or anything over there? I haven't really seen much.
Yeah, I'm still looking right now to see any damage reports. If you see anything, safely take a picture and send it in to us, and we can share that online as well, but nothing quite yet. Yeah,
okay. So, yeah, first and foremost, take cover. You see these videos of people out on their front porch as severe storms roll through. Don't do that. Just get your family inside and get downstairs and take cover and do what you have to do to keep yourselves safe. And if you have post-storm damage where you can verify that something's come through and you've got some damage, then when it's safe to get out there and do so, you can take a picture of it. So still looking at a strong cell, tornado warned, moving east towards Conkling and Lucky Fork. Now we're looking at arrival times of places like Cow Creek, 8:34, Arnett, 8:36, Doorway. That's a new one to me. I haven't heard of that one yet. That's one of the benefits of covering severe weather. I get to find out about some of these smaller communities I haven't heard about. 8:38, so folks in Doorway, a tiny little place, watch out. These storms can impact you just as much as anyone else. Up to the north, heavy rain from Boonville, and that stretches up through Jackson. So folks in Breathitt County, this cell is pretty much going to pass you to the south, pretty much clipping southern parts of Breathitt County, but still, Buckhorn, you're within that polygon. Island City, the storm has been right on top of you, but is starting to push east with that, again, about 40 mile per hour, or I should say 50 mile per hour forward speed. So still seeing those obvious signs of rotation. The question is whether or not it's actually getting down to the ground and impacting anyone. So yeah, take the necessary precautions, which I think Bain's got queued up for you.
All right, Tom, good morning.
That's not Bain.
That's not Bain.
That's Chief Meteorologist Bill Mack.
Good morning.
You pulled a switcheroo on me.
Yeah, obviously this has been a situation we were talking about starting from yesterday. Tom in here doing yeoman's work this morning. So again, we are trying to keep you informed as best we can. So if you are in the tornado warned counties, we like to give you the heads up on what you need to do to be safe. And if you're in the tornado warned county, you already need to be in your safe spot. But if you can, close all the interior doors. You want to close closet doors, bedroom doors, bathroom doors, anything you can to compartmentalize your house. What that does is think of it like a submarine. The more you can compartmentalize it, the better the chance that the building itself can survive and give you the better chance of survival. You want to be downstairs, lowest level you can. If you have a basement, that's where you get to. If you don't have a basement, ground floor. You want to be under something big, heavy, and sturdy, something that can protect you from flying debris. That's a bed, that's a couch, that's under a staircase if you can. That's a very sturdy structure. Center part of the house, you want to be middle of the house. The walls of your house are layers of protection. And finally, keep away from windows and doors, sources of flying glass. So again, the tornado warned storm that we've been looking at is the one sitting down here as we go through parts of, looks like Owsley County, Breathitt County. So again, this is that tornado warning for Breathitt until 8:45, back toward Owsley County also until 8:45. The storm moving rapidly east. We also want to reiterate that if you are in a mobile home or a manufactured house, all those tips that we just gave you don't count. You need to be out of that type of structure, because if there is a tornado hitting that structure, they're not designed to take even the winds of a weak tornado. So again, the tornado warning that's in place is for Owsley and Breathitt counties until 8:45. And again, you're seeing some of the communities. Island City is where it starts. Looks like the worst of this storm right now is going to be somewhere, looks like just south of Arnett near Sebastian, headed toward Morris Fork, and eventually on toward Talbert. So this, again, is a tornado warning, and you need to be in your shelter. Tom, you ready?
Yeah, thanks. I've got all this backup today because I'm overcoming whatever that funk is that's been going around, so my voice has not been terribly reliable. So much appreciated that Bill and Bain both came in to spell me a little bit while I get my voice back. But yeah, Bill's right. That due east track and moving east of Island City, there around Ricetown and Lucky Fork, some of the areas that are impacted. And the National Weather Service radar out of Jackson shows some of the heaviest rain now stretching from Cow Creek, and you can see that kind of arc back down around through east of Island City. So Buckhorn within that warned area, and this warning for Owsley County that was through 8:30 this morning is now for Breathitt County as it enters southern Breathitt County here in a little bit. That goes on through 8:45 this morning. And as far as I know, that is the only current warning that we've got in effect. They did pop a couple that went off into West Virginia. Still been keeping an eye on the tail end of these storms. These have somewhat fizzled out a little bit. That's where some of the stronger cells were earlier this morning, where we had the original warnings, but that's been worked over somewhat. So you've got some areas down around Science Hill where you've got some stronger showers and gusty wind, but the main storm, the main player, the biggest danger, potential hazard for you folks, remains the cell that is now over Owsley County heading towards southern parts of Breathitt County. And then you can see that polygon even extends over clipping northern Perry County. But the overall storm track with this has been fairly consistently pretty much due east. And that potential is there. If we can get an update on the shear rate again, you're still seeing, doesn't look like it's updated since the last update, but you're still seeing some of that strong shear around Island City, and the storm has now moved east, again, closer to Sebastianville.
All right. And one other thing to take note of, as I walked off there just for a second, aside from the tornado warning, as I was driving in and I was coming past the Ramseys there, Harrodsburg Road, Bowman's Mill, South Elkhorn Creek was definitely out of its banks, and it looked like there were some vehicles that were trapped down there. The fire department was headed down there. They also had boats, so there may or may not be water rescues that were going on there around Bowman's Mill, there on the south side of Fayette County, near Harrodsburg Road. So avoid that area as well. But South Elkhorn Creek was definitely out of its banks on the south side of Lexington. So with that, again, we have the tornado warning that is out there, and we're kind of centering that right now. Owsley County, you're seeing that near Sebastian and Arnett, headed toward Morris Fork. That cell, again, is moving almost due east and doing so at a pretty rapid rate. So if we take that cell from where it is, moving at about 50 miles an hour, Morris Fork in the next few minutes. Crockettsville Crockettsville is updated to 5. Sebastian Branch, that comes in about 5 minutes as well, making it hopefully a little easier to see that. Canoe at 7 minutes away. Altro 10 minutes. Roosevelt at 11 minutes. Wolf Cole 11 minutes as well. Haddocks in 14 minutes. So that is the cell that we are currently looking at. And again, one that is potentially tornadic. It's been a long-term warned storm. So again, the rotation certainly has been there. It's moving in toward Talbot. They're going to see Altro there, and then coming off to the east as well. So that's a new skit that just showed up there. But right now, if this storm is tornadic, that looks like it's where it's going to be, where you get that little bit of an S shape. See it right in there? So that is likely, if the storm is tornadic, where it's going to be. So that's also going to be approaching Buckhorn. So again, for you folks in Perry County, you are also looking at that cell out there as well. So that's a tornado warning for you in Perry County until, get that back there, until 8:45. So it's Perry, Breathitt, Owsley until 8:45 with that tornado warning. How's the voice, Tom?
I'm still hanging in there.
Okay.
Yeah, and pretty good example as well as we switch between what you saw Bill had, the MaxTrack Live Doppler, and the National Weather Service radar out of Jackson. This is showing their current imagery, and as we pop it over to the MaxTrack Live, you can see how that live beam picking up on the current location of the storm, which is farther east. Obviously, it's been tracking east. So as Bill was saying, around Arnett, Lucky Fork, and then eventually off towards Buckhorn. Those are the areas that you need to pay the closest attention to for the possibility of damaging wind. I mean, even if it's not tornadic, you can have 60, 70 mile per hour straight line winds. It can cause just as much damage and be just as dangerous. So, you know, whether or not it's a tornado or straight line winds, kind of immaterial at that point. But if it is a tornado and it's on the ground, obviously something you need to really watch out for as well. See if we've got updates on the shear rate. From Jackson, get you some updated data here from what we had earlier. Now, it's still hung up back towards Island City. But, yeah, as far as the current situation, the current location of this cell, right around Arnett, which puts it right around parts of eastern Owsley County, and then eventually moving into Breathitt County. If we move you up to the north, right there is Jackson, of course, center of Breathitt County, essentially. So this storm's moving into southern Breathitt County. Some areas, other areas that could very well be impacted by this. I mean, if it continues this gradual eastward, well, not gradual, this 50 mile per hour eastward track, it's going to run north of Hazard and then eventually out towards some of our far eastern Kentucky counties. If I zoom out to give you a better idea perspective there, Prestonsburg and Martin, and then eventually right there's Pike County, far eastern edge of the viewing area. And of course, here's Lexington. So we're south and east, south of I-64 and east of I-75. Island City, you guys look like you are in the clear, but you've got some torrential rainfall down towards Burning Springs and as well Doorway that I was talking about earlier. But the main cell, that little S shape that Bill was talking about around Talbot, Morris Fork, and eventually continuing to move into southern parts of Breathitt County.
All righty, Tom. So again, it's a situation where we've been watching this cell coming all the way across. The warnings have been coming out, trying to give you as much lead time as possible. And just to remind you once again, what we call CDUC helps you find your safe spot. And with that, you close the interior doors, you compartmentalize your house. It helps your house chances of survivability go up. And so in the event of something catastrophic, you want to be downstairs, you want to be under something, you want to be in the middle part of your house as well, and finally keep away from windows and doors. That's the sources of flying glass. So again, with this storm that is coming through southeast Kentucky now, it's part of a squall line. There's one cell in that squall line where there is that shear, where's that rotation that is available. And that is what we have been warning you for here for the last couple of hours as the storm actually, the cell itself began over in Marion and Lincoln counties and has come across, and now as it's getting into southeast Kentucky, this is where we're likely seeing it. So now we are indeed seeing this tornado warning, northern part of Perry County. And so we're looking right around Buckhorn where the potential is there. Now this is mountainous terrain, obviously. Normally, this is a place where there's lesser chances for tornadoes, but obviously that is not a strong rule always, because we saw in 2012 the West Liberty tornado. And of course, it was on the ground for an hour and a half going across Kentucky and West Virginia. You folks in Buckhorn, in Gaze Creek, near Morris Fork, Altro, you guys need to be in your safe zones now. And if we're plotting where we think the storm is at this point, again, it's pretty close to Buckhorn. And what we're looking at with that, there it is. So one of the things that you look for is this S shape. in the big picture, and it's in that area right around Buckhorn, where again, at least at this point, if this storm is still tornadic, that is most likely where it's going to end up being. So again, Beach, Gaze Creek, Buckhorn, you guys need to be in shelters now. Dalesburg, the storm is likely over you at this point, and that is what we are seeing with this cell. So again, Buckhorn, Beach, Gaze Creek, we are talking about Perry County here. We're talking about Breathitt County. Tornado warning until 8:45, so another 15 minutes on this. It'll be getting to the edge of that warning likely before then, so it'll be interesting to see when the Weather Service, if and when they're going to extend this out. But you see Wolf Cole, Roosevelt also in the path of this as the storm now passes by Buckhorn, or going through Buckhorn right about now. Again, then we're talking the northern part of Perry County with this cell. Again, that's a tornado warning until 8:45. You folks back here in Owsley County, the storm has cleared you. And so we are now talking about Breathitt County and Perry County as the tornado warning. Crockettsville back to Morris Fork and Talbot, you're seeing that purple and pink up that way. What you're looking at with that, that's going to be hail that you're seeing up here. So that is the northern part of the storm. But again, the area that's a concern for us right now is around Buckhorn, around Beach, around Gaze Creek, where we are seeing, again, that notching going in, and most likely where we would be seeing a storm, if it's tornadic, where it's most likely going to be with this. And you folks need to be in your safe shelters now from this storm. So that tornado warning is going to be continuing for another 15 minutes. Tom?
Yeah, and when we handed off, about one this morning, Bill, you were coming off the tail end of some storms that you were tracking that put down some decent hail. Where was that again? Oh,
the hail from those storms was in Mercer and Boyle counties.
Yeah, down towards Mercer and Boyle.
Yeah, and it was, well, we're getting reports up to about ping pong ball size. So the storm ingested warm air, and it just exploded for about 10 or 15 minutes, and almost as quickly as it exploded this morning, it collapsed back down again.
Yeah, and so he handed off. That line came through, and now we're dealing with a secondary line that formed back towards Louisville and is pushing east. It came through here with very little fanfare. I mean, we obviously knew it was coming through with the lightning and the wind, but didn't have a lot in the way of severe warnings. But now as it's dropped into southeastern counties, and as we were talking about on Sunrise earlier this morning, it's getting into that better environment, more instability, higher dew points at the surface, warmer air. Temperatures surged into the 60s as that warm front came in last night. So again, you folks are still under a tornado warning that goes through 8:45, and it's for Breathitt County. So out around Roosevelt, Altro, Gaze Creek, and eventually out towards Engle and Ned, some of the little communities farther east. This is right where you're being impacted with the MaxTrack live radar. You can see that live data. Pop it back up again and make sure we're on it. So that is where the most likely heaviest rain is falling, as well as Bill was talking about the hail core with this storm. So there goes the live sweep, the storm on that eastward track. They have been gradually shrinking down the polygon here, the tornado warning, as it exits those areas of Owsley County, which are now in the clear. So it'll be interesting to see if they extend it a little farther into eastern Kentucky and expand that time out a little farther east. See if we've got updates. Okay, so finally got some updated data here. The shear, a little weaker. You're still seeing that stronger pop of wind shear right around Buckhorn, and that was the area that we were talking about, the most likely place you could see some wind damage from it. And the storm relative velocity is still showing the greens and reds bumped up together, which is that indication of rotation within the storm. So again, from Buckhorn now moving farther east, as you heard Bill saying, you're getting into the mountains here, you're getting into some of these really small communities, but Beach and Barwick and eventually out towards Lamont, with this storm tracking due east, you're going to want to go ahead and take shelter and make sure that you are keeping yourself safe, keeping your family safe, and putting, again, as we've talked about, as many walls between yourself and the outside as you can. My weather computer is really not wanting to cooperate right now. So I might have to toss it over to you, see if I can get this thing under control.
All righty. Well, what we're looking at here is, again, continuing the tornado warning. There's also a severe thunderstorm warning that we are looking back to the west. So it's along this trailing part of the line that's going through Pulaski County. So the severe thunderstorm warning for a storm that looks like just to the northeast there of Somerset. That's a severe thunderstorm warning until 9 for Pulaski. That's going to be also there for Laurel County, clipping the very southern part there of Rockcastle County as well. That is a severe thunderstorm warning. So what looks like the folks at the Weather Service are doing, you see there's a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been extended eastward. So for Knott County, for Perry County, and looks like that warning is also going to clip the northern part of Leslie County as well as part of Clay County. That's a severe thunderstorm warning. So you see the flashing red there. That's the tornado warning. What the Weather Service is doing now is they're setting the stage as that storm comes eastward, because you see it's getting to the end there. It's getting to the eastern edge of the tornado warning. And so again, for that tornado warning, we're talking that for Breathitt County and for Perry County. So now the severe thunderstorm warning, I'm guessing it's going to have a TOR possible as part of its nomenclature on that. But that is for the storm that's going to be to the northeast of Hazard. That's going to be around Buckhorn. And it's in that area right in here where, again, the storm is likely, if it's going to be producing a tornado, that's where it is. Put Jackson on here for you. And again, the shear that we're looking at right in that S. So again, that's what we were talking about. And so again, that's where your shear, that's where the rotation in the storm is most likely. And that's going to be up in the northeast corner there of Perry County, southern part of Breathitt County. Again, you folks around Buckhorn, and sorry that the smaller communities aren't showing up on here, but it's going to be up around Buckhorn. So we'll just go ahead and extend that out. So again, you're seeing some of the communities that are going to be impacted here. There we go. So Barwick, Chavies, Lamont, Manuel, Engel, Ned, Dice, Harveyton in the next 15 minutes, Stacy and Heiner as well. So again, you're getting into the hollows, you're getting some of the coal towns. They're sitting back there. And so we are again seeing shear. So Barwick and Chavies certainly are in the direct path of where this storm would be headed. Engel and Dice, again, pretty close to what that straight line's going to be. And that's that tornado warning. It's now a severe thunderstorm warning. We're at the edge of the tornado warning. It's going to probably be extended, more than likely, given that setup and given with the atmosphere at this point. But again, that'll come from the Weather Service office in Jackson when that warning, if and when it gets extended. And with it, we are indeed looking at that potential for damaging winds, large hail, and that potential for tornadoes. Tom?
Yeah, and of course, obviously, the tornado would be the top end of your list of concerns, but you also just have to watch out for just torrential rainfall, as Bill was saying. We have had some just heavy rain. The last time I checked, we were upwards of 1 inch to 2.5 inches of rain in spots. We've got a flood watch in effect. So, you know, obviously, tornado warning does take precedent here, but you also have to watch out for just some of the just torrential rainfall that we've been seeing. This, I believe, is, this is the National Weather Service radar out of Jackson, and so we can get rid of this, at least get it out of the way here. You can see where that tornado warning is, the edge of it, and then the eastern extent, as we zoom you out here, of the overall severe thunderstorm warning. So, as Bill was talking about, yeah, they've been popping these severe thunderstorm warnings out in advance, and then eventually advancing out yet another overlaying tornado warning if these conditions continue to stay favorable for that rotation, which, you know, so far they are with that shear rate still down around Gaze Creek as you get into parts of northern Perry County there, showing that potential for that damaging wind and maybe even a tornado from supercell. So yeah, Max Track Live, the latest data. There goes your live sweep. It has now moved east of that tornado warning. So we're now into Roosevelt. This is into parts of Breathitt County, southern Breathitt County. Right there, of course, is northern Perry County. Looks like they've got the severe thunderstorm warning out through 9:30 this morning. So they've extended it out to there, and as well the same for Breathitt County. But again, there's that hail core that we were talking about, and that potential again for some damaging wind, possibly a tornado. It is now pretty much completely out of the existing tornado warning. I don't know if they've closed it out yet, if they've expired it, but would not be surprised to see it maintain at least extended east for a little bit more to keep the coverage going here, just because of the way that has been presenting itself. with that extent eventually off towards some of those even smaller communities. I mean, if we broaden the view out here, you can see way out towards Prestonsburg. So we're talking the far eastern extent of it towards Knott County and Perry County.
They did expire that tornado warning for right now. They haven't extended another one yet, but I'll keep you guys posted.
Okay,
so it should
they
be expiring in the next minute or so.
Expired that tornado warning.
Bain, on the current warning, does it say tour possible?
The severe thunderstorm warning.
One that goes through Knott and Perry. Be down toward the bottom.
I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Yeah.
As of right now, it doesn't look like. Yes, it does. Yeah, tornado possible.
Right. So, yeah, I think we'll knock off our coverage for the moment. Very good odds with tour possible that we could be back on the air shortly. Bain and Bill coming in to back me up as my voice goes in and out. Much appreciated. Usually I can handle this, but today has not been a good day. But stay safe, stay weather aware, keep informed. We'll do exactly that for you as we continue through the morning.
This one as well.
Yes, and there's a little comedy as well.
It's your first time as a leading man.